A poem in three parts. Whilst penned before the author's death in 1789, Aberdeenshire, Scotland, the following composition was found in Scots magazine from 1815. Due to its length, it was published in that magazine over 3 editions. Some generous person submitted the poem for publishing, and another recently in Chicago scanned the magazines and made it possible for the author's 5th great-grandson to find it. To the Editor. Sir, the following poem was written by the Reverend George Knowles, minister of Birse, a gentleman of eminent piety, and equally conspicuous as a scholar and a poet. He died about 30 years ago, and it is not known that any other of his numerous poetical effusions has survived the wreck of time. By giving it a place in your useful miscellany, you will much oblige, Sir. Initials R.H. Finhaven, 14th of October, 1814. Part 1. The sweetest season of the circling year now decks the woods and clothes the verdant plains. Far hence now growl the blasts of winter drear, and Sol as yet his scorching beams restrains. The glowing blossoms paint the spreading boughs, while clustered leaves the bursting buds unfold, for humbler shrubs their beauties to disclose, and shine arrayed in vegetable gold. Now while the lark breathes his melodious note, and soars till lost amid the azure sky, trilling sweet music through his warbling throat, to cheer his downy spouse that hatches nigh. While fanning zephyrs cool the noontide ray, and lightly wanton in the glittering beam, while nature revels in the sweets of May, and opening flowerets grace each purling stream. Come, heavenly muse, inspire my rural song. I, suppliant, bend before thy native shrine. Oh, kindly view me midst the incessant throng, that court the influence of thy smiles divine. What though no courtly scenes my verse adorn, the indulgent muse will not my theme disdain. With me she'll paint the rock, the wood, the thorn, the hoary mountain, and the verdant plain. Say, whether shall we trace the winding stream, and search each corner of the bordering mead, or climb the towering mountain for our theme, and view the boundless prospect round us spread? See yonder hill in diverse colours dressed, its bottom heath and various shrubs bespread. A thick green sward of grass makes up its vest, and moss-grown rocks defend its ancient head. In sullen majesty it sits enthroned, begirt with mountains of inferior mine. At distant vast enormous hills around, that tower still higher in the clouds, are seen. 'Tis Mortlock, loudly famed in ancient song, where erst the Gaelic bard in plaintive strain bewailed the warrior fierce, the hero strong, who fell the subjects of death's dark domain. With winding step we'll gain its summit high. There while we rest, as seated side by side, we'll fondly stretch around the wandering eye, over the vast landscape, scattered far and wide. Now while we trace our lone sequestered way, the plumed musicians charm the listening ear, the nodding thrush upon the bounding spray at once now cheers and guards his downy care. Hark how the chaffinch warbles forth his love, and how the linnet sings with heart elate, while in the deep recesses of the grove the cooing stock-dove woos his fluttering mate. The rising woods wave gently by our side, the oak, the elm, the larch, the towering pine, whilst odours sweet are plenteously supplied by scented birch and fragrant eglantine. Around this sacred fane, where now we stray, the glossy swallow, roused from wintry dream, with rapid flight in quest of insect prey, skims on the gale and glistens in the beam. Now through the scattered village let us pass, where, far from gilded snares and faithless art, the blooming maids, all seated on the grass, pour forth their rural strains with careless heart. Here fondly sporting on the velvet green, relaxed awhile from the fatigues of school, a ruddy train of healthful boys are seen, who ply their limbs and wisely play the fool, while who trains them with unwearied toil, unbinds his anxious mind in leisure hours, turns up with painful hand the teeming soil, and trims his garden, decked with various flowers. Now onward we pursue our winding way, through verdant fields with various herbage crowned, where lowing herds and thundering coursers stray, who crop the grass and paw the trembling ground. These fields, while a rude, uncultured waste, now polished by the noble owner's care, speak forth his praise, and show his patriot taste, who turn the barren heath to pastures fair. To him we owe the beauties of the scene, that glows so sweetly on the raptured eye. He raised these groves, he clad these fields in green, he reared these trees that shade the mountains high. See yonder, glittering in the solar blaze, his ancient castle lift its head sublime, and all its pristine splendour still displayed, firm and unshattered by the shafts of time. Long may it stand, a peaceful, sweet retreat, and long be handed down from race to race, of noble guerdon, good as well as great, their father's honour and their country's grace. And now we reach the mountain's spreading base, whose airy top we next must strive to gain, whence oft the shepherd, with insatiate gaze, has eyed the beauties of the fertile plain. The sloping side, as now we slowly scale, and view at every step the widening skies, we seem to soar above the sinking vale, the mountains vast around us seem to rise. Still onward as we climb with ceaseless pace, the prospect stretches forth on every hand. The freshening breeze breathes on the glowing face, and wafts sweet odours over the healthful land. At every step new scenes surprise the sight, woods, hills, and dales appear unseen before. And as we slowly gain the mountain's height, the landscape spreads to Scotia's eastmost shore. See how the distant hills rise on the view, and rear their heads into the yielding sky, whilst rocks and streams the shifting scene renew, and add fresh pleasure to the raptured eye. And now, with throbbing heart and dewy brow, the topmost verge of Mortlock high we gain, and round our wishful eyes we throw, over many a cloud-capped hill and mottled plain. But see, my muse, here in the moss-grown rock, a verdant seat cut out by nature's skill, whence oft the swain has eyed his bleating flock, wide scattered over the sweetly pastured hill. Here let us rest, and here some time repose our limbs, now wearied by this arduous height. Refreshed anon, we'll view the scene that glows, so bright, so dazzling, on the ravished sight.